Morning, folks. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School down here at the Pathfinder Outdoor Classroom. Today, we're going to shoot a prequel video to the next question in our questions people have asked that are new to bushcraft, camping, and survival on the internet, the most common questions. And the third one is, what's the best knife? And I'm going to shoot a prequel to this video today, showing you how to baton a non-full tang knife, talking about some of those rules. And what I want you to understand is that when you are batoning a knife, and yes, there are reasons to baton a knife, space, safety, size of wood, all of those things can dictate times when I may want to baton my knife. Some knives will baton better than others. Obviously, a full tang knife will take more abuse than a non-full tang knife. But we're going to use a non-full tang knife today and discuss some rules with you on using a non-full tang knife because it's an inexpensive knife, it's a very good knife, and it's great for beginners. But what I want to explain to you is a little bit about blade geometry as far as grind and what's going to split better for you than something else. The first thing you want to think about is the thickness of that blade, because a thicker blade is going to give you more splitting power going through a crack and widening it out faster than a narrow blade is. So blade thickness is something you want to look at when you are thinking of batoning your knife. Whether it's non-full tang or full tang, it's going to be a better splitter if it's a thicker knife, okay? The second thing that you want to think about is the actual grind. Again, with a thin knife, you're generally talking about some type of a hollow grind, like a pocket knife grind, or possibly some kind of a high V grind, saber grind, like on some pocket knives. And you may have a secondary bevel on those knives. But in general, a convex grind is going to be the best grind, all right? And a convex grind is going to be something that is kind of curved. Now, this knife's not going to be as easy to sharpen. It's going to be more axe-like. But a lot of your heavier belt knives back in the day were made this way, all right? I'll give you a good example of that is this Case Q knife right here, okay? This is a heavy, thick bladed knife, and it's got a convex edge on it, which again can make it a little more difficult to sharpen, but it also makes it easier in the fact you don't have to worry about turning it convex if it starts out scanty. We'll talk about that kind of as we go through this video as well. So a convex grind is probably the number two thing I'd look at if I were looking at a knife that I'm going to use for splitting more often than not in a belt knife category. However, again, we're going to use something that's not necessarily ideal today to show you that it can still be done easy enough. And then the third thing I would look at is the length, all right? All right, I would say 4 plus to 5 inches, all right? Anything more than 5 inches becomes more of a chopping tool. Anything less than 4 isn't going to give you diameters of wood that you really want to or need to split to begin with. If you're wanting to split kindling out, something in that 4-inch range is going to be good. If the knife's over 4 inches, you'll have some overhang, and we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes out on a stump. So these three things are the things we want to look at. The thickness of our blade, the grind of our blade, and the length of our blade when we're selecting a belt knife if we're planning to baton wood. And when I say planning to, I mean we're not planning to carry an axe, okay? If we're not going to carry an axe, we're going to be splitting kindling with a knife. And these are things we need to think about. All right, so let's discuss the batoning of wood real quick. And I've chosen the Mora Companion for this demonstration, knowing that this is only about a half tang knife. So this is not a knife I want to put a lot of abuse on, but it is very capable of batoning if I am careful what I'm doing and I understand the limitations of this knife. Now the question is, why would you ever want to baton wood when you have an axe? If you're carrying an axe, that's going to be the better option in most cases. However, once you get to smaller finite pieces of wood, if you have limited space that you're operating in, trying to keep wood out of the rain, things like that, those are good reasons to baton a knife. A knife is very controllable. It's very easy to handle and manipulate, and it doesn't have a big 2-pound head on it crashing through wood when you baton it. So it's a safer option in a lot of ways for most people. You can baton a non-full tang knife. You just have to be careful. All right, so I've got 3 different pieces of wood here that have been bucked down with a saw to 3 different lengths. The length is one of the first things you want to think about when you're batoning. Firewood length is what you want. Kindling length is what you want. You don't want to try to baton your knife through something that's 5 feet long. A good gauge is your knife itself. If the piece that you've bucked down is longer than the knife, then it's going to be more difficult to baton through and split than something that's shorter. If it's green, it's going to be more difficult than if it were dead. So standing deadwood on the ground is going to be easier once bucked up to baton than greenwood's going to be. Knots in the wood are going to be much more difficult to put a knife blade through because of the grain structure than a clear piece. So you can see these 3 pieces of wood are fairly clear. There's a little bit of growth here, but you can look at this side that's been bucked and you can tell this is a fairly symmetrical inner wood here. This one's a little off. So there's some grain structure in here that we're going to end up going through with this knife. We want to understand this when we're batoning, because we don't want to run our knife through all of this twisted grain when we can run it off to the side, okay? Pieces like this that are fairly clear, you got 1 knot right here. I would start my batoning from the end that is clear, not the end that has a knot. And then this one here is a little bit too long, but we'll use it anyway, and it's fairly clear, but it is fairly dry feeling, okay? And it already has a crack in it here that we can take advantage of. The wood's already trying to split out. These are things you want to think about when you're batoning wood with a knife, especially something that is non-full tang. If this was a full tang knife, any of these is no big deal. Any way you want to split it, it wouldn't matter, especially if you got like a 5-inch blade. And that's the other side of that coin is how big around is that piece of wood, okay? This is the largest piece, and you can see that it is almost as wide as the blade is long. That can cause a problem when you're batoning because you don't have a striking surface out here, and you may need to use a wooden wedge or something like that off the landscape to assist in that splitting if this is the smallest round you can find and you absolutely have to split it for some reason. But the easiest thing to do would be to split a wedge off of this first, use that wedge to split the rest, and I'll show you that in just a second, okay? Let's start with this piece of pine that we know is almost as wide as our blade is long. That's going to cause us a problem when we go through it. So I'm going to show you, first of all, by batoning into this. Remember, I don't want to baton my knife through the twisted grain pattern. So I don't want to, where the grain's really tight and the growth rings are close together here, I don't want to baton my knife through that if I don't have to. So I'm going to take the long side here through the center of the pith. But when I pound my knife into that, you can see it's going to bury itself in there and it's not going to go any further, okay? And now I'm beating out here on the tip of my knife trying to split this, and that's a problem, okay? So what we're going to do with that is we're going to come out here further out to the edge like this, that we can get a piece off of. And we're going to split ourselves a small wedge that we can use here to assist our knife, okay? Now we're going to come back in here with our knife. We're going to hammer it in there as far as it'll go so that it starts a crack in the wood. We can then take our knife out of the block, put our knife away so we're not abusing that, and use this wedge that we just made on that same piece of wood. And that will split that piece out and not do any damage to our knife. Now we have more manageable pieces that we can split, and now we can go back to using our knife if we want to. Just get in the center here, and now we've got plenty of room out here to bang on to split that wood out if we're trying to make kindling or fire starting, okay? And if we always cut in the center, it's almost always going to split fairly evenly. And we'll have a bundle of kindling in no time to start our fire with. And we can baton all day long with this and never hurt it, as long as we're following those type rules. Now on a smaller piece like this one, again, we've got a knot here. It's already got a crack started in it right there. So I would go off to the side of that knot where that crack's already at if I could maybe, and go right into that crack. And I can easily split that piece of wood down very, very safely because I've got plenty of room out here now. Getting my knife snugged up against the front of it there like that. and just tapping on the edge until I split it down. The shorter that piece of wood is, the better. The easier it's going to be to split. The absence of knots and more clear wood is also going to help you be able to retain your knife if you have to baton it, okay? There are always reasons to baton a knife, no matter what anybody tells you, especially when you're working with a small piece of wood like this. You're trying to create kindling for a fire. It's much easier, much controllable to do this with your knife than it is to mess with an axe. And it's very easy to do, very controlled, and you're not going to damage your knife as long as you pay attention to the rules. Now this third piece kind of violates some rules right off the bat. It's a longer than my knife piece, which means my knife has to travel further into the piece to split it out. That already can give this knife a problem if I'm not careful. I can take advantage of natural cracks if it has one in it, which is right here. I do have plenty of room hanging out on the other end to smack my knife a little bit if I have to, but I'm going to be cognizant of all of the problems that I have. And when I start to baton into this, if I don't see it start to crack very, very quickly, and that crack creep down very, very quickly, I'm not going to keep beating on the end of my knife. I'm going to go right back to that whole thing of making a quick wedge from the piece and using that, or bucking it down to a shorter piece. So I may come over here now and just cut myself a wedge off of here real fast. If I don't split it in the center, it's always going to run off. So it's going to be very, very easy to create that wedge. Now in this case, I'll have to peel some bark off of it, but that's not a big deal. I can peel the bark right off that wedge, just like that. And I've got a fantastic wedge I can put right here in this crack that I already made with my knife. Pound that in. Now you can see with that wedge was this long. It was pounded all the way in, it still didn't crack it all the way out. That would have been a very bad piece to try to put your knife through, okay? So follow the rules. Now, once you get it in half, you could go ahead and baton it. You're gonna have more knife sticking out. You're gonna have more leverage on the piece. But again, the more times you gotta hit that knife to split that out, the more chance you're taking on damage that you may not need. But I would say at this point, now that it's not a solid round anymore, we've weakened it some, it's gonna be fairly easy to split out, even though it's actually a little bit too long. But you can see those long fibers of grain in there, and those are what cause the problem. Those softer woods are gonna be a choice over harder woods. And if you're starting a fire, softer woods are gonna burn faster anyway. All right, guys, listen, I appreciate you joining me out here today for this quick video on some rules and lessons in batoning a non-full tang knife. Again, this is a prequel video to our next video, what's the best knife, in our question and answers for people new to bushcraft, survival, and camping. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, for our business, for all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. And I'll be back with another video in this series as soon as I can. Be sure to check out our website at selfrelianceoutfitters.com for the best cooking and camp gear that you can find, bar none. And anything with my logo on it is guaranteed for life.